Hello everyone, Chef Eric here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe down below and give this video a like. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make the best chocolate and strawberry cake. I'm not personally a huge fan of chocolate cake, but this cake is just perfect. There's a balance from the strawberries which gives it a really nice flavor. So let's get started. So we're first going to start out by combining all of our wet ingredients, and for our wet ingredients we need maziwa mala or buttermilk. So for that, just combine 250 milliliters or 1 cup of milk along with a tablespoon of either lemon juice or white vinegar or even apple cider vinegar, whichever vinegar you have on hand. Once you've fully combined it, we now want to go in with our other ingredients, and the other ingredients are 110 milliliters of vegetable oil, a teaspoon of vanilla, and 3 small kienyeji eggs. This recipe has been put up for kienyeji eggs, but if you're doing this normal store-bought eggs, just do 2 eggs and the recipe will just turn out fine. Crack them into the bowl together with all of your wet ingredients and give everything a really good mix with a whisk. And we can now set that aside and start to work on all of our dry ingredients. And for our dry ingredients, we have 350 grams of all-purpose flour along with 350 grams of sugar, normal sugar, along with half a cup or 40 grams of cocoa powder, or plus 2 teaspoons of bicarbonate of soda, along with 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, and last but not least, a teaspoon of salt. The salt is just there to enhance all of the lovely flavors in the cake and to bake this cake really nice. You want to add all those ingredients into a large bowl and give them a really good mix with a whisk and set them aside. Next, we can prepare our 2 8x3 baking pans, or you could also use 3 6x3 inch pans or even 3 7-inch pans. It's entirely up to you, but if you have either 8, 9 or 10-inch pans, just do one of those. So spread some margarine all around the cake tin and dust it with some all-purpose flour. Toss the flour around and tap out the excess so that the pan is evenly coated. Set those aside, and we can now start to mix together our wet and our dry ingredients together. You want to pour your dry ingredients into the wet ingredients and not the other way around, so that the batter mixes in very evenly and you don't have as many lumps as you would if you had done it the other way around. Add them in and fold them in with a mwiko, and you want to keep folding for a whole 2 minutes. The reason why we fold for 2 minutes is so that we form a little bit of gluten. Most cake recipes are like, don't overmix. For this, I highly suggest you overmix. So keep mixing, so that the cake has a little bit of structure, because we are not whipping any air into this. Next, our last ingredient is some hot coffee. So just to some hot water, about 118 milliliters, you want to go in with 2 sachets of instant coffee powder and give them a really good mix. If you'd like to brew a fresh cup, that's totally up to you. So add your hot coffee into your cake batter and give it a really good mix with a whisk. Avoid mixing too vigorously. I've sped this footage up. So just mix gently until everything is fully combined, and make sure none of the hot coffee gets onto you or onto your skin, because that can be really dangerous. So just keep mixing until it's all fully combined. It will look really luscious and smooth and absolutely delicious. We now want to pour this lovely, smooth, luscious batter into our two 8 by 3-inch pan. I just weighed mine out evenly across the pan. It was about 512 grams in each pan. Then then bake them off at 180 degrees for about 35 to 40 minutes, just until a skewer comes out clean and they spring back to life. While our cakes are baking, we can now go ahead and start to make our frosting. And for the frosting, we're making a lovely luscious whipped chocolate ganache. And to make that, we're gonna start by combining 300 grams of chopped dark chocolate and set that aside. And next, we're gonna heat up about 300 milliliters of cream in the microwave for about 2 minutes until it's hot. You now want to pour over your piping hot cream on top of your chocolate and let it sit for 5 minutes until it starts melting. Once it looks slightly melted, start to gently stir the ganache together from the center, working your way outwards until you have a really smooth, glossy and shiny ganache. Cover this in some cling wrap directly on top of the ganache and let this chill in the fridge for about half an hour. After that half an hour is up, scoop your ganache into the bowl of your stand mixer hooked to the paddle attachment, and you want to whip this up on a medium high speed for about 5 minutes until it looks super light and fluffy. Keep an eye on it and do not over whip. We're now going to prep up our strawberries, which we're going to use for the filling. So add 2 tablespoons of sugar to about 150 grams of fresh cut strawberries. Give that a really good mix and let it sit in the fridge for half an hour. We can now start to assemble our cakes. So take your cool cakes and slice off the tops and keep the hums. We're going to use the hums later on, and they also make for a really great chef snack. You want to cut that off and add just a nice cake board onto the top of your turntable. If you don't have a turntable, it's fine. You can just use 2 plates stacked on top of one another. Then you want to put a dollop of the whipped chocolate ganache on the cake board, a thin layer of ganache on the first layer of cake. Spread that out and pipe a dam around the edges so that you have a home for the strawberries. Now you want to pour in your strawberries and all the accumulated juices. It's going to seep into the cake and make it really moist. Smooth it out, add a little bit more ganache on the top, and pop the second cake layer upside down and fill the gaps in with either your ganache or some of those cake hums. So just crumble it up, mix it with some ganache and stick it in between the gaps so that it's nice and sealed, so you have a nice and even cake. Give the cake a really nice crumb coat with all the remaining ganache. For chocolate cake like this, I only do a crumb coat so that the chocolate doesn't become too overpowering with the rest of the other components of the cake. Give everything a really good smooth out and chill it in the fridge for about 10 to 15 minutes, just until the ganache is set. We can now finish up our lovely chocolate cake with some fresh cut strawberries. Pick the prettiest of them all and just place them on the top in a beautiful arrangement with some halves and some full ones, and you're done. I hope you make this cake, and I'll see you guys next week for a brand new video.